For a second. So, how's everybody doing? There's some tired faces out there after lunch. Everybody being energised. Before we start, whilst this loads up, just want to check in to make this session a little bit interactive. I'm unfortunately going to be stuck behind here. I just want to make sure that I'm able to check in with you and make sure that I'm taking this in the right direction, into the right pace for you guys. So I'm going to want to see if I can call in and just check in with you. So starting with that, first thing I'm going to ask, how are you finding the session today? Are you finding this session of interest? Raise your hands if you're finding today's session of interest. Let's see a show of hands. That's really, really good. Thank you. And let's see, again, who wants to learn a few more insights into how you can practically take some examples of key steps you can take to make a ServiceNow implementation even more impactful for your business. Raise your hands again. Great. So that gives me an opportunity to hopefully see that we can make sure that what I'm going to give you today really actually helps you with those aims. So as we start, my name is Anthony Lamoureux, and I think probably the big question to start with is, why are we here today? Now, maybe today you are a service desk manager who is really wanting an ITSM solution to be more than just ticketing, more than incident and problem and change. Maybe you're a program or project manager who for the first time is looking to see if you can build a roadmap and a plan for how you implement an ITSM solution like ServiceNow, but you're looking for steps as to how you make a really clear roadmap. Or potentially you're an IT director who's challenged with trying to gain cost savings, but at the same time want to improve service. Or maybe you're struggling with a work-life balance, like I think most of us do in this day and age. It's difficult from a personal level not to exchange your personal time for service excellence. There's an interesting study by Forbes magazine that if you're spending more than 10 hours extra every week on work, you're twice as likely to be leading towards a divorce or a separation. So establishing work balance and trying to do it whereby you gain more time and more from your bang for buck is really important. And maybe you can imagine a future tomorrow where actually your ITSM tool actually enables you to have better relationships with your business and users, enables you to not just cut cost, but actually have a tool which is capable of being really business transforming, and also that puts your ITSM tool at the very heart of your business. I think we've seen some things from posters here about HR as a service, but actually it's wider, I think, than that. And there's a great opportunity for the scale and depth you can do with ServiceNow to really reimagine the role of IT within your business. Now, why is this so important right now? Because we are living in truly exponential times. More unique data was produced last year than had been produced in the year before it, and all 5,000 years before that in total. That's a staggering amount. And more than that, next year it will double as well. And this is evident. It's not maybe just a question of lots of selfies and people taking pictures, but it's actually an evidence of the speed at which technology is also speeding up. That process of us moving to every, it being doubling every 12 months is predicted to soon become every 12 weeks. That's a staggering figure. That's the rate of change we're seeing. But in fact, this is also represented by the growth at which patents are being filed in the US Patent Office. Again, last year, more patents filed in the US Patent Office than have been filed in the rest of the history of the Patent Office since it opened in 1840. Now, do you feel like technology's moved on a lot in the last 5 years? Raise your hand if you can feel like your phone, what you get at home, the interconnectedness of things is moving on. Well, you ain't seen nothing yet. Because what you're feeling right now in terms of patents is what was logged as patents 5 years ago. So this exponential growth you're seeing in that graph there is what's going to happen in the next 5 years. It's an absolute tidal wave. In fact, it's a tsunami of change which is about to be hitting us. And that's not just in our home lives, it's also in our work lives as well. So the key thing is, how is this thin edge of this tsunami really affecting us? Well, firstly, you can see it already within businesses. Since the Fortune 500 companies were established in 1955, from then to this day, 89% of the companies that were in the American Fortune 500 no longer exist. And this in part is because software is eating the world. You may have heard the expression and you may have seen it happening, but companies like Blockbusters, now replaced by Netflix, HMV, now replaced by Spotify, even your common taxis now being replaced by Uber. No industry that you thought was a physical, real industry is safe. Every one of them is possible for disruption. That includes every industry and every role. Oxford University have done a recent research that says that they predict that in 20 years, 47% of all jobs today will be automated. This is causing, this plus this effect on businesses is causing a thing called digital Darwinism, which is, as you know, that the survival, it's not just of the fittest, it's those most adaptable to change. Now, some of this technology may seem like it's somewhat science fiction. You may have seen this. This is Google's driverless car. A few years ago it was just a prototype. Now it's done over 1 million miles of real travel. And this is a very real technology and movement. The UK government alone is investing £100 million in driverless car technology. Now, if I was one of the UK's 850,000 jobs that revolve around driving a vehicle for work, I would be thinking that this is a threat to my existence. But it's not just the manual labour, it's not just like the Industrial Revolution was about us simplifying manual jobs. It's actually about us simplifying knowledge working jobs as well. This is a picture of IBM's Watson. IBM's Watson is a famous artificial intelligence computer. Over the last few years it's taken on Garry Kasparov in terms of chess, and in September 2011 it beat the 74 times winning US quiz show champion of the program Jeopardy 3-1. Roll forward 4 years to 2015, and Watson is now being used across hospital trusts across the world to start to be able to early diagnose and beat cancer. This basically shows that sci-fi-like ideas like Watson are now becoming very real business differentiators. And this is affecting not the manual task, but this is affecting knowledge working jobs, like doctors, like lawyers, like insurance underwriters, and like you and me. So, what does that mean to the way and the role of IT in the future? Now, I think this is something that we talk about within Velocity a great deal, which is, within most businesses, the cost of IT is between 2 and 5% of the overall cost of your entire business. Now, for years, IT departments have been challenged on cost. And there's a great thing whereby most CIOs and IT directors feel that part of their main role is to year on year reduce the cost of IT. But this actually causes quite a weird behaviour within businesses. The things that we have in life that are free or next to free, we have a much higher level of expectation for them. So for example, lights. If we in England had it whereby electricity and lights came on and off 3 or 4 times a day, you could never know when it was there, we would be up in arms. If I went to a tap outside and every time I opened it I may get clean water and I may not, we would be beside ourselves. But these are examples of where the commodity has dropped and dropped and dropped in price, but our expectations of the level of quality of service have increased. And this is the trouble with IT departments, in the fact they get into a cost-cutting war of trying to reduce the cost of services, when actually the effort of IT has got to be to try and focus on improving the other 95% of costs and not worry about the 2 to 5% of IT. If you go in and do a hack and slash cost model, reducing the cost of IT by 50%, bodies are left all over the place, services have got worse, you've made a 1.5 to 2% difference to that business. Whereas if you can infect a 5 or 10% difference to the overall business performance, then you're making your business's performance massively increase. And this enables IT to then move into the role of being a true differentiator and being able to then look at innovation, driving up customer satisfaction within your own customers, and indeed therefore improving profitability. Now, that just means that whatever you do, you cannot do nothing. You cannot wait and see. Automation and this level of change is coming. It's here now. You have to, therefore, innovate or die. And yes, I did nick this one from 2 years ago from ServiceNow's Fred Luddy presentation, which is one of my favourite presentations. So, let me tell you a little bit about Velocity and about me. So, if you had been with me in the summer of 2012, you would have been looking out of the 5th floor window of an office block room about half the size of this room, looking out at the hypnotic sight of plane after plane landing on the world's busiest single runway airport at Gatwick. Now, people who know me, I'm quite opinionated, I'm quite big-headed, but sometimes I bite off more than I can chew, because I say things and they seem like really good ideas and then I'm asked to deliver them. Has anybody ever done that? Has anybody ever had a situation where you've bitten off more than you can chew? That happened to anybody here? Raise your hands if that's ever happened. Yeah, good. It's not just me. Well, picture this. I've been at Gatwick Airport working there as the interim head of infrastructure for about a year. We put in brand new infrastructure, we put in new desktops, but we knew that without us tackling service management, we couldn't improve service delivery. This was the message that was widely coming from the business. We therefore came up with a plan and said, we think we can change this. New CIO, come on board for 6 weeks from Abu Dhabi Airport. He was 33 years old CIO, brilliant, visionary man by the name of Michael Ibbotson. And we said, we can do better than this. He said, well then, what's your plan? So we came up with a model which was a little bit revolutionary. We wanted to bring service desk and service management in-house at Gatwick for the first time in its history. Up to this point, it separated from BAA and Heathrow, and really all of its service design, its contracts, was a bit like me wearing my dad's clothes. They just don't fit quite right. So we said, well, we can come up with something revolutionary. We're going to bring service management and service desk on campus for the first time ever. We're going to change the relationship with the business. We're going to make the business love IT. In fact, that was the KPI we set ourselves. And we're going to do this by doing clever things, like we're going to have the service desk guys, one day will be taking service desk calls, next guys, they're going to be out there fixing things, they're going to be desk side support guys, so that we can rotate them and they'll get to know the business will love them, and this will be amazing. I thought that's really, really good. The worst thing that happened though was Michael said, go on then. So it's like, the problem we had at this point was this was now June. By the beginning of December, I had to exit out 2 existing suppliers. I had to be able to bring this new service team on board, and I hadn't even found anybody who recruited them. I had to create an ITSM tool, and there was already a running OJUL, government-regulated tender process, which was underway for 11 tender lots, which was already being misdirected of just buying the same services as before. So I had a lot of work to do. And the first key principle I took was one which is a bit revolutionary and has since been commended across the aviation industry. What I did was one thing. I designed my service around ServiceNow. I designed the tender process around ServiceNow. And the problems that Gavin was talking about how do I have a supplier? But the problem actually is if you move to having a service model and I say, well, I'm going to mandate ServiceNow as a tool to people who aren't using it, is they may just do swivel chair operation, and as you say, they drive the cost up. So I wanted to make sure that I selected service partners who knew ServiceNow, already used ServiceNow, and would then be capable of driving me towards a vision that we had. Now, my background was I was a program director within Fujitsu Services for about 10 years, and I have seen large-scale organisations use other tools. Normally I don't do this, but I'm going to because we're all friends. Like CA, like Remedy. And I have seen those types of tools cripple the level of flexibility and agility that organisations have. Fujitsu at the time had moved to a large platform of CA, I was the first program director to try and do the first customer implementation of it for a large-scale global implementation with Thomson Reuters. It took 18 months to get the first version and cut of a customer-specific version off the ground. It was crippling. I knew we couldn't have that at Gatwick. More than that, Gatwick's small. There's only 1,200 people who work there. So we knew we had to have a solution whereby it has to be able to be supported by a tiny team. We can't have an army of people with large infrastructure supporting a remedy implementation. We had to have something that was nimble. So we selected ServiceNow as the tool of choice, and we built things around that. We restructured the tender process, and we selected a company called Getronics, who themselves were an early adopter of ServiceNow. We also worked with Focused as one of the suppliers and built our own in-house team of developers who could help develop ServiceNow. And the results were pretty astounding. We managed to turn from running this tender process, covering it, transitioning out to suppliers within 3 months, with 110 business critical applications that keeps planes moving, to then flipping it from being to another supplier, flipping it to Getronics, and then recruiting 23 new roles and introducing ServiceNow for the first time in Gatwick's history. We introduced ServiceNow within less than 12 weeks, from my first discussion with the ServiceNow team to us having it implemented. We used an agile set of development processes to enable us to do that. And we worked very closely with the business to make sure that the service we designed was designed in a way that they would want. And we used the opportunity of us doing this to reframe and have a chance to have a new conversation with the business. And the results were amazing. We managed to reduce Gatwick's IT OPEX on a yearly basis by more than 12%. And we were able to take, using Net Promoter Score, who here is familiar with Net Promoter Score? Raise your hand if you are. Good. You should be, Stuart, because you work for Velocity. Stuart's one of my other directors. So, Net Promoter Score is a measure which is used by people like Apple or Samsung or Sony to judge the level of customer satisfaction. It's based around one simple question. Would you recommend these products or services, our products or services, to your friends or family? Just that one question. And it's a litmus test which applies across every industry, every service. We took that measurement and used it for one of the first times for internal IT. When we first measured Gatwick's internal IT, when we first joined Gatwick back in 2011, the Net Promoter Score was -95. The scale only goes down to -100. That meant that everybody and everybody's mum hated Gatwick internal IT. And it had everything about it. Not a single good thing about it. And it's very much weighted. You have to get to positive numbers. It's actually quite difficult with Net Promoter Scores. You have to basically discount anybody who's in the middle ground, who scores you. If you've ever had those questionnaires, it's like 1 to 10. Rate is 1 to 10. Well, you may not know, but anybody, if you score them 7 or 8, it never counts. 6 down to 0, that's a negative score. 9 or 10 is a positive score. So you have to work really hard to get into a positive number. We took Gatwick's Net Promoter Score from -95, everybody hates Gatwick IT, up to +35. And we did that within less than a year. More than that, they've now taken that further. They're now up to about +60. Apple's is +69, I think. There's one, Midwest Airlines is around 62 as well. This is a very powerful measure because it also redefines the way in which you work. We could talk about Net Promoter Score on its own for another hour, but it's a very, very useful way of gauging the success of the project. Now, since then, we've worked with a number of clients to help them to reimagine and transform their enterprise IT departments. We've done that using ServiceNow with other tools as well. And what I'm going to do is hopefully share with you some of the experiences that we've gained and some of the insights about how you can apply those things practically and how you can do that to then make ServiceNow really the heart of your transformation and the transformation that's required to enable you to deal with this digital Darwinism that we were talking about. Well, how do you do that? How do we survive digital Darwinism? Well, the key way that I believe we should do that is by learning from ourselves. That's not you, by the way, I'm not just pointing at you. What I mean by that is our own bodies. If you imagine your business as a body, there's a number of things we can learn in terms of how we adapt to change and deal with threats and opportunities, and how that applies to our businesses. And I think the 4 areas are, 1, our bodies have got an autonomic nervous system. We have a thing called proprioception, whereby we can sense ourselves in our environment. We have the ability to do things when we unconsciously. For example, we don't all have to think about breathing or standing. They happen automatically. We have the ability to heal. If I cut my hand, I don't have to consciously think about healing it. It happens automatically. So that's one key area. The second one is our fight or flight mechanism. How do we quickly respond to threats or opportunities? How do we hunt that bison? How do we run away from that bison? We also have the ability to think and to feel and use our memories and recall events and plan forward. And that's a key area in terms of our survival. But beyond that, we have the ability to adapt to our environments. And these four elements are key for us to be able to increase our business's survival fitness levels. Now, these ideas are themselves kind of stacked. You need to do the blue tier before you can move into the green tier, before you can move upwards up the chain. And what I'd like to do is maybe share with you some thoughts around each one of these areas and what positive steps you can take in terms of your view about ITSM or ServiceNow in general. Now, starting with, you need to create an intelligent nervous system. Now, I think all businesses follow two rules, and we've done analysis of this across every industry, global companies, local companies, infrastructure companies, engineering companies, media companies, numbers of companies. These two rules always apply. 1, 20% of all of your IT issues are caused by 80% of your workload. Secondly, 80% of your IT friction is caused by the simple stuff. And when I say IT friction, that's what are the things that niggle your users about you as an IT department? What are the things that niggle you about your IT suppliers? It's never normally the big things, it's normally the small stuff. It's a similar thing to if you're home and you're married or you live with somebody, it's a similar thing. It's never normally the big things about where you're going on holiday that cause the big arguments. It's normally the small stuff like loading the dishwasher. Well, cracking these two problems is vital to being able to understand how you deploy a nervous system. And I think how you do that is, 1, don't only start your planning around ServiceNow to be incident, problem and change. All too often, what happens is people think that the selection process of, well, do I use ServiceNow, do I use product X, Y or Z, they get through that part and they mop their brow and go, oh God, I can't believe it now. Fantastic, now what are we going to do? Well, let's just take what we've got today and we'll just take that as a starting point, we'll recreate that tomorrow and that will do us to start off with. Then we'll plan innovation and really cool stuff in the future. Don't do that. It's a bit like moving house. It's a bit like you having those boxes in your loft that you never unpacked last time. You go, what should we do? Well, let's just move those boxes, we'll put them in the next loft, I promise I'll unpack them again. No, you won't. It's exactly the same situation. You want to start designing your implementation of ServiceNow to have automation and self-healing capabilities immediately. That doesn't mean do them immediately, but have them in the roadmap. Have committed funding towards them. Think about where you want to take them, because these are the areas that are going to give you the biggest bang for buck. Often I see business cases done for ITSM tool selection based around the cost of the existing tool. The existing tool costs £30 a license, this one costs £65 a license. If you're doing a business case around that, it's not the right way of thinking about it. The right way of thinking about it is the transformative power you get from implementing a tool like ServiceNow over some of the other tools that don't have anywhere near the same capability. Think about automation from the very word go. The other one that's really important that we use, and this is just a basic thing you can be doing now, is perform a Pareto analysis of your incidents and your requests today. Relentlessly focus on the top 20%. It's normally what we call the top 5. I can guarantee you will be 5 to 10 things that are costing you money. And when you multiply it against the number of service desk agents, the number of people in various organisations, outsourced partners who are involved in fixing those things are costing you millions. We've recently done one with a large global infrastructure company where we did a Pareto analysis. Within 4 days of analysis, we were able to highlight across 3 or 4 different tools, including ServiceNow, areas that we could save that company literally millions within 3 to 6 months. The focus on automation and the focus on these other skills is not a nice to have, let's just get incident problem and change in. it should be your main focus and religion for when you focus on this. So the key thing is, if you don't automate from day one, start assuming that your competitors will. Automation is not a luxury. Automation is the key to your future survival within your IT department. And that is on very many levels. If you've got an IT department that is looked to be too costly, well, you're like a little mini business in yourself. Prepared for somebody at CFO level in your business to say, you know, IT looks a bit expensive, let's outsource the lot. Be in charge of your own destiny and say, no, our automation, our design of our own solutions is vital. And while we're on that, this is one of the things that I really is a bugbear for me, but I see too many times where IT departments relinquish the control and the decision about what IT SM tool they should use to their outsource provider. They go, well, you know, we're going to be selecting a new outsource provider, we'll let them use the tool. It's important they select the tool. Well, it's a bit like an analogy of, if you have an ERP solution, say you've got SAP or you've got Oracle, would you, every 4 years that you change who supported that for you, allow yourself as a business to, every 4 years, have the disruption of moving from Oracle to SAP, from SAP to Siebel, back to SAP, back to Oracle? You wouldn't do it. You're madness. Everybody in the business world, that's the worst thing I've ever heard. Well, that's a similar thing these days with your ITSM tool. Your ITSM tool is your key differentiator. The way you configure your ITSM tool is your secret sauce. It's your special DNA. And by having all that data and knowledge retained in-house, and the way you orchestrate your services means that your ability to chop and change in a SIAM plug-and-play model, your suppliers at a future date, is in your power. It massively reduces the cost of exit between outsource providers. To give you an example, I exited Logica CGI out of Gatwick. The cost of me doing so, moving from them to Getronics, was £700,000. The cost of me exiting from Getronics to my internal team that I then created, £35,000. Simply because by that time I'd taken that knowledge in-house and I had my own ITSM platform. So it's vital, upon anything I can say, is one of the key things to control the destiny of your IT department is own your ITSM platform. Don't allow it to be part of the outsource tool. If you need to, select the outsource provider who has the tool that you want, or that's not always a possible world, because, you know, if emphasis are using CA, you have to kind of stick with what they've got, and they're not going to just introduce ServiceNow for you. There are a number of providers, I can tell you the big ones. Fujitsu use ServiceNow, for example, they've just ditched CA. There's a number of people who work in that space, but select a provider who's always willing to work with you around your tool of choice. Keep the tool in-house. The next stage on this, get yourself some muscles. Now, fixing things at an autonomic level, of a self-healing level, is the first stage. But actually, you need to then be able to respond quickly to change. And how you can use ServiceNow to help you grow those muscles is look to add some serious firepower to that ServiceNow can automate. We have looked at and used a number of tools to do this, a number of cloud-based tools. Okta, which is an amazing identity management tool and provisioning tool, does password resets in the cloud. It's one of those reciprocal things. They use ServiceNow, ServiceNow uses them, they integrate very closely, and this, again, as part of the business model, can save you millions in provisioning, user provisioning as well, using things like Puppet and Chef to do DevOps, using Bongar, which integrates closely with ServiceNow to do remote management. All these capabilities and tools, and Apura, which does a kind of a portal for buying all cloud licenses and giving you the discount of their massive buying scale. All of these should be in your arsenal of the tools that you use, that ServiceNow is effectively the orchestra conductor to be able to bring these tools with ServiceNow's already formidable firepower to enable you to create a seamless integration of provisioning of services, of self-healing, and of providing customer service excellence. The next one is, we talked about that Pareto of top 5 activities. This one really is vital from our perspective. It's not necessarily a ServiceNow one. ServiceNow helps with this, which is for your top 5 requests and activities, really try and relentlessly examine the user and customer experience for every touch point that you go back to the user with, and see whether or not it can be reimagined, reduced, automated or eliminated. And again, the problem with this is often the service management tool gets put in as almost a way of just making service better for the IT guys who work in the IT department. Whereas really, what you can use Service now to do is create a very different experience for your users. A case in point for Gatwick, for example. Gatwick does a lot of shift working, as you can imagine. And what used to happen is you'd have a guy who comes on board, they come on board at the start of their shift, they've got 15 minutes before they're about to start, their laptop's not been working for like a couple of days now, so they phone up the service desk, and the service desk, it takes loads of time to ring through, and doesn't know them when they phone up, and doesn't have an understanding of where their previous calls are, the standard things you get with old ITSM tools. But they then finally get through, and the guy says, yeah, it'll take about an hour to fix it. I don't have an hour, I've got 15 minutes. Okay, well, call back the next time. So this guy gets pissed off because he keeps phoning at the beginning of a shift or the end of a shift to try and fix this problem, and he's not in control. What we did at Gatwick, very simple, and this is just dead easy within ServiceNow, is we had it as part of our call script. It says, is it okay that it's going to take me about 20 minutes to fix that. Do you have 20 minutes now? No, sorry, I don't. I'm just about to go on shift, then I'm not going to be back and probably for about another week and a half. That's fine. What we'll do is we'll call you back. Shall I make an appointment for you now? We'll call you back at that time? Yeah, that would be great, please. So the guy thinks it's an amazing service movement. We've suddenly shifted the levels of customer satisfaction dramatically. All we've done is just done a very simple thing where we can log a ticket, we take it off of SLA so it's not clock ticking, and we've got a reminder that we phone him back. And then the agent then phones him back. Other basic things you can do is you can introduce case management, whereby at the start of a call, you have one agent who takes the call. They take the call through, and the call obviously might get resolved by various other different teams. It might then come back and it gets resolved. When that ticket gets shown up as resolved, that same guy does a courtesy call or girl does a service call back to them. Say, just want to check, I was the person who took your call the other day. Can I just check whether or not everything was okay for you? You got a great deal of satisfaction? Again, it's not simple, it's not difficult, it doesn't cost you much, but the level of satisfaction and the personal service you get is massively increased. And it's these little things whereby ServiceNow is just beautiful at orchestrating. And the two examples I've just given you, you can see they're not difficult in any way. So the other thing I think you can really do with ServiceNow, especially in the growing age of Internet of Things, is really using it to coordinate the right resource with the right skills and the right assets at the right time. This is particularly big with mobile engineering teams where you can use global positioning, plus also things like RFID solutions to actually locate the right asset in the right guy's van to the right location. And you can use ServiceNow as the ability to manage that algorithm, so you don't have to have somebody who's scheduling and saying, do you have this in your van? Can you go to that site? Actually, is this a part that you know how to fix? You can actually move this model whereby that kind of level of orchestration can be done very simply. And Fujitsu Services, for example, have worked with ServiceNow to implement a global or a European mobile engineering solution which does very much that. So the key to ServiceNow is at every one of the touch points you have with your users, look to see whether or not you can now reimagine that relationship and that touch point. Can you get it to being a zero-touch element? Can you make it whereby it's now got a customer delight element to it? One of the analogies that Stuart always uses, that I'm going to nick, is two places. If I went to a Wetherspoons to buy gin and tonic, or if I went upstairs to the Bulgari Black Lounge up here to buy gin and tonic. If I go to Wetherspoons, the gin and tonic is going to cost me about £2.49. They're going to come in, they're not going to ask me questions, I'll say gin and tonic. They won't ask me the type of gin, they won't tell me the berries within it, they'll put a slice of lemon in it, I'll just get whatever the standard tonic is out of the thing, and I'll get a drink. And I'll get a drink very quickly, I'll get a drink within probably 32 seconds. It's an okay experience. Whereas upstairs here, there'll be some guy who can tell me about the various range of 20 gins they've got. They'll get a glass out, they'll put sugar around the top of it, they'll squeeze lime in and light it into the glass, they'll use Fever Tree gin, they'll do this whole pomp and ceremony. It will take longer, it will cost more, and I'll be delighted with it, because they've reimagined the level of service that we get. Those touch points exist in every time you have any point of touch with your users. Each one of those can be reimagined from home working, which is a particular area which we focus on, through to any aspect that you touch. How do you eliminate them or reimagine them? So don't just recreate today's limitations in your tools tomorrow. Really use this as an opportunity to reframe your relationship and your conversation with your business. Use your head and your heart. Once you've now created a much better ability to respond, and you've now created automation and self-healing, try and use the extra time you get to do two things. To seek to understand your business more, and also seek to be understood. The way we work to try and make sure that ServiceNow is then enables you to think, care and share is, as we said earlier on, you do use ServiceNow and use it to measure Net Promoter Score. The great thing about Net Promoter Score is it creates a dialogue with your business. You can show it improving over time, but also you can use the verbatims of what they say, what they don't like about IT. You can come back with an honest conversation. We don't have all the money in the world. If we did, we'd try and fix everything. But we've listened to you. The top things that you've said that you don't like are, and I can reel them from a list as always are, printers always breaking down. It takes me too long to get a Wi-Fi password. Whatever the list of things are in your business, you then have a dialogue with your business and start to fix the things that they've asked you to fix. Not things that you, from an IT perspective, throw out as projects you want to do. You're now a market-driven IT department, not a sales-driven IT department. And that massively changes the relationship you have with the business, and it raises the IT satisfaction temperature of your entire business. Now we're trying to do some work. I'm trying to convince Loughborough University to do a study for us that actually links the fact that actually the cost of every one of your IT projects you deliver on a yearly basis is linked to this IT temperature. If your business loves you anyway, every project you deliver into your business is easier. Testing is easier, deployment is easier, piloting is easier, and actually requirements are easier. Therefore, every project's faster because your business loves you. And it doesn't take much to change that thing over. You don't need lots of money, you just need to have an open relationship with the way you treat your business. Second one is knowledge. So much knowledge leaves your business in heads or leaves your business in just not being captured. The good news and the bad news. Do appoint a knowledge champion, somebody who's responsible for culling and collating data and knowledge. And secondly, do use ServiceNow's ability for knowledge management to actively capture information and try and drive it further forward in the value chain so that actually your users can use the information to self-serve and self-solve. Do go social as well. I think this is another key area that we believe, especially with the change and the speed of IT, with things like bring your own device coming into your business, it's very hard for the IT department with a static kind of set of services to adapt fast enough to change. When you're at home and you're using Google Mail, you don't go when Google Mail stops working, you don't go, well that's it, I can't now work for the rest of my life. You self-solve. People have that innate ability to self-solve. We kind of don't do it within the business, and we can. At Gatwick, for example, we introduced Bring Your Own Device about 3 years ago. One of the key things that we knew was the fact that there's so much plethora of different versions of Android and Apple devices growing, we couldn't possibly police and manage to maintain call scripts about how to log every one of those devices onto the Wi-Fi network. You just couldn't do it, and introduce the active defence solutions. So we needed to create some means of doing so. So we actually pushed this out to the business. At Gatwick they used Yammer. There is the capability within ServiceNow itself there. And we turned this into a social thing whereby we gamified it. We had people who put their hand up and say, well, I've got this particular version of Android, I'll be the champion for that one. Great. And so anybody who had a problem with trying to fix that phone onto the network would be directed to that person, that member of the user community, not to IT. We still knew what was happening, but it's a great way of us actually displacing problems and actually making it still feel like a better service to the users. And finally, I think, do create service and business-focused dashboards. Not talking about the number of transactions that IT has done, but the value to your business. And be honest and open and start sharing data with your business, good or bad. So many, in fact, I think to this day, every single major big corporate I know has been afraid of sharing service stats of a real nature with their business on a monthly basis, good or bad, on their website. And it's a key thing whereby when you start to capture Net Promoter Score and start to show it going up, and you start to have business value based dashboards that start to show things that are relevant to the business, then you actually start to create a very different relationship to the business where it's based on trust. They don't expect you to always get it right, but by using ServiceNow to create this modern relationship, you can then start to actually show your business that you have the ability to care. And by caring, you get a better response from your business. To adapt and innovate, I think, is the next key one. You need to be able to cope with the curveballs that come from your CEO or come from outside of your business. And the key ways in which I think you can use ServiceNow for that is, one, ServiceNow is built around agility. It's built around Kanban boards and the ability to do agile project management. We used it to slash the delivery timescales at Gatwick. We moved from 14 weeks as an initial plan down to less than 6. And we've done the same for other large global implementations of ServiceNow as well, using Ishikawa and using Kanban as techniques. Also, I think we've touched on it, is really do think about open innovation. This ability to e-bond is an amazing tool. You're suddenly able to then transform the way in which you work with your partners. It doesn't just have to be your IT outsource providers. It can also be people you do joint ventures with. One supplier, one customer that I'm working with is coming up with the concept of a joint venture in a box, where they want to quickly be able to land with any supplier and land with a set of cloud-based services, including potentially ServiceNow, that means that they can quickly create new joint ventures and create new ways of working with any supplier. Also, do stand on the shoulders of others. Here in the room you can see the signs of various of the the ServiceNow partners. One thing I can't stress enough, these guys between them, if they haven't come up with it, they probably have done something similar to it. I wouldn't sit in the dark and just try and come up with things yourself. You can massively accelerate the level of innovation you get out of ServiceNow implementation by using the partners. If you go to ServiceNow, they will know who has done what. And you can get some real innovation and speed. And also now with the innovation within ServiceNow of creating an app store, there's even more opportunity for you to be able to stand on the shoulders of people who've done this before within the business. And I think that leads on to the next one, which is do plan for a legacy of growth. The thing with ServiceNow is it's a very much in-demand skill. It's very hard, as probably most partners will say, to actually to grow skills and maintain them, because it's a very big demand and you can get a lot of money for going contracting with ServiceNow. However, ServiceNow, as hopefully I've shown, becomes a lot more integrated within your business. It's not just the preserve of one or two admin guys, it's now the preserve of your business analysts, your project managers, everybody in your business who touches IT, who looks to improve the performance of IT. Potentially your HR business reps, potentially your finance business reps, all of them getting involved with how you can use ServiceNow. One of the things I'm amazingly impressed by is the work that ServiceNow have done to start to team up with universities. I think it's Birmingham University as the first, but actually we've done work with Gatwick, with Brighton University, and we're trying to hook Brighton University up to ServiceNow as well. Is they've actually opened it up as an open innovation where they've given access to ServiceNow development capability and the App Store to the undergraduates, so they can develop in ServiceNow. They gain the skills in that, so that means that the industry now has people who are coming straight out of university who've got skills in ServiceNow. And that's amazingly powerful, and something that I would say really do look at to help you with the legacy of a great environment for ServiceNow. So, just a few more things about the next steps that I think you can quickly take right now. One, automation is coming. Do embrace it, and select a platform that turns the threat of automation into a real opportunity. Secondly, as I said, do really analyse and focus on the areas of transformation that are going to have the biggest bang for buck for your business. And that's based on just plain data analysis of where you are today. And lastly, there's only 20 years, guys, before 47% of all our jobs are gone. Let's not waste one of them by not starting this now. And that, I guess, is all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Anthony.